Welcome in the next Limcore episode. Today we are having a great special guest from Microsoft, Gunter Logemann. 16 years already at Microsoft headquarter Redmond. The full profile from Gunter, I will say just in a second. Before this, Gunter, can you reveal some secrets for the audience? What are we going to talk about?
So we will talk about the challenges of adapting robotic solutions, how we as Microsoft have different offerings for these type of integration and robotics, our collaboration with Replay and Roboverse, and what else is hot in the robotics universe and what we are doing next.
We may be a little bit political at the end, and a couple news from interesting news from Washington Post from a lady who gave birth at Tesla. As some funny part at the end. So stay tuned. It will be very interesting, a little bit technical, also business oriented. We'll reveal a couple use cases, business cases we do with our customers together, how robotics can save you money or sometimes even lives of your human workers. So stay tuned.
You are listening to Limcore's podcast, pushing the limits of innovation and productivity in business and daily life.
Today we have a special guest with me, directly from Microsoft, Gunter Logemann. Hi, Gunter.
Hi, Marek. Nice to be here.
Gunter is is very experienced employee at Microsoft. You are there over 16 years already on different roles. Previously, over 9 years at Siemens. And your background seems strong, like engineering background to be, because you have your electrical engineering degree you've made in 1993 at Wilhelmshaven University of Applied Arts and Science in Germany. Gunter,
Yes.
what are you doing currently at Microsoft?
Very long time ago. I just remember. So my first day at Microsoft campus was actually in '95 when I was working on drivers for real-time communication. So it's actually a nice experience, and Microsoft actually changed a lot during this time. And yeah, nice to be here on this podcast and talk about robotics.
Yeah, good. Great having you here. And indeed, as you mentioned, at Microsoft changed a lot at least 3 CEOs, right? So you began with the Bill Gates times through Steve Ballmer and now through Satya Nadella. Wow, that's amazing.
That's really a lot of changes.
What can you say about the current status? How would you describe the current Microsoft in comparison to the Bill Gates Microsoft?
So I think in the early days, everything was really focused around Windows, and if you worked for Windows, then you're the king. If you don't work for Windows components, then you probably have a hard time at Microsoft. But this really changed, and now everything is really focusing on cloud communication, adaption. But we are still have a very strong presence of Windows, of course, and all the other components like Office, all the intermediate technologies, all the gaming stuff and things like this. And I still feel that Microsoft has a great offer of all the different platforms, which is especially when we're talking about robotics, very promising, because we can offer the whole set from cloud, from the connectivity, from the telecommunication, from real-time communication, and a lot of different operating system platforms, which are actually not only Windows anymore. It's much, much more. It's different types of Linux. It's real-time operating systems now. And it's just the right time to offer actually the whole end-to-end platform for especially robotics.
Yeah, and what I personally really appreciate about Microsoft, it's also a similar approach to the company where I currently work in, Reply, is the customer approach that we firstly look after the business cases, what the customer really need, and then adapt our existing portfolio or try to combine the existing portfolio to deliver the use cases and the technical part which customers really need. But we will come back to this topic in the further minutes of our podcast or webcast for those who are looking on us on YouTube. Gunter, can you actually tell for the audience how do we get know each other actually?
Yes, so it was actually a very interesting thing because we were actually working inside Microsoft for a long time on different types of robotics platforms. We had components like ROS on Windows, different ROS nodes, and we're building with a lot of partners together platforms around robotics and the robot itself. But of course, with the main focus on cloud connectivity and AI components, adding AI components to different robots. So we were actually approached by Boston Dynamics with the Spot robot, and it was actually interesting because Spot was at this time really focusing on building a nice robot, which was not really integrated into a bigger solutions. So Boston Dynamics was actually approaching us to ask us what we have on the truck, I would say, for these type of solutions and how we can actually integrate this robot into bigger solutions. And so at the same time, you guys were actually starting working with Boston Dynamics on the Spot robot, and René Schulte from the MR group, and I think Replay Valorum was publishing a lot on testing the Spot robot, where the Spot robot was dancing through the office and had a lot of fun with these robots. And I was chatting to him on Facebook actually to get a connection. I know René for a long time, but it was just the right timing for when Boston approached us, and you were working with Boston, and then we were looking into integrating the Spot robot into something useful, and that's where we started all the discussion. And and it's finally after, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years during COVID times, we came to a solution where we now have really success and really integrating the robot together with our partners into really big customer use cases, which really make sense and not just POCs.
Yeah, exactly. Everything we've built together is based on the need from customers. And our first get to know was in 2020, indeed, when we already got selected by Boston Dynamics as the worldwide integration partner, one of the first in the Europe, who also received 2 Spot robots. Now our fleet is expanding, and we're having more and more robots, not only on our premises, but also at our customers. But when we talk about robotics, right, and especially in context of Microsoft, so when I talk with different engineers, with different specialists, they often say that, well, Microsoft is actually not really visible in the area of robotics. But in my opinion, right, it has actually a lot of interesting components which are crucial for robotics. And this is what we are using in our platform, actually. I don't want to spoil too much because maybe there will be an extra event where we can reveal all of our features and what we've built together at Microsoft team. But Gunter, can you say in general, right, what are those components from Microsoft perspective which are for robotics very crucial?
Yeah, so first of all, I think a lot of people don't realize that Microsoft has a very strong presence in robotics applications over the past years. And so especially when it comes to providing the operating system platforms, the tools, the development tools, all the components which are used mostly in industrial robots, this is where we were present all over the time, right? And especially if you look into manufacturing robots, a lot of these robots were based on real-time kernels from Microsoft. They were based on Windows as a based operating system, Windows embedded. And this is going on like for, probably 15 years now. And especially like in the early days, we had some even built things like Robotics Studio, and few people may remember this. This was even before ROS was actually there and was a thing, right? And so there was a lot of activities around this, but never it was never really came to surface. And especially when you look into consumer robots and all the educational robots, Microsoft was not really there in terms of providing ready solutions like other companies. So, but this is now slowly changing, I would say, but we are still in the game of providing platform components. And if you look into the list of Azure services, operating systems, and different software products coming from Microsoft, it's actually a lot of these things are usable in robotics. And so we are starting, of course, with the operating system platform. In most cases, we have a very strong focus on security and safety, and especially the security components are becoming more and more important, because also the robots were in the past mostly single connected, or they only have very limited connectivity or only local connected. But now with the all leveraging the cloud power for robotics, especially in the AI case, or connecting multiple robots to each other, those are becoming more and more important. So security is really one of our most important topic, and this includes a lot of things on the operating system platform, making this secure, getting the right updates, do the right deployments, things, and this is one of our main focus in the robotics space. On top of this, we have already a lot of things developed as well. So all our ROS components, what we have offered, and we have a lot of Linux versions, we have a lot of Windows versions for these ROS nodes, and just on a side note, all the ROS for Windows work we have done was actually based on the ask by the ROS community and by ROS people to improve the security. And one of the foundation is, of course, to have a secure and managed OS, which was more or less an unsolved problem in the ROS world, where we have mostly running this on an Ubuntu. This Ubuntu was more or less not accepted by most of our industrial partners. So we either have to make sure that the Ubuntu gets the security approval, or move to something which was already there. And in a lot of industrial environments, you have actually Windows as an approved operating system. It's accepted, it's manageable, it's integrated into the IT solution. And this were actually the reason why we actually started the ROS on Windows work.
This is exactly, I think, the game changer topic where we've been addressed by a lot of customers, and our existing customers was exactly the case where the product team or the customer who is, the people on the customer side who are responsible for the use case itself, and delivering this for the power users who may need a robot for different purposes. Then we, make a couple of rounds with the IT administrator, and then, I'm very sorry, but it's not allowed. It's a Linux device. If as far it is, at least Windows IoT, right? IoT on Windows IoT device, which can be a managed device visible in our enterprise network, you're good to go. Without this, forget it. So this means that there were a lot of proof of concepts on the customers. This is my perception as well, where the people were simply experimenting with this, but the grade of production ready to say, okay, now let us deploy this on the customers. What not yet there, right? Not there yet.
Yeah.
And right now, with our Roboverse platform and components, you also adjust and we collaborate with you, make it possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is sometimes interesting to see that a lot of people starting on the robot world with building or taking what's there, mostly on Linux-based ROS systems, and want to take this to market. Right. And this is where most of the companies are actually really fundamentally struggling, because there is no real path, especially when you talk about real mass deployments in industrial environments where you have completely different requirements, in opposite to when you talk about customer or more or less end customer IoT. So, for example, in hoovering robot, which is connecting to a Fritz box and moving around in your home, has completely different security requirements than when you want to have a managed robot which sits in the manufacturing environment and has to guarantee to be running maybe 24 hours, 7 days a week. And this really makes a difference. So our approach is really, we are offering both, but we take actually the security and safety level of Windows into the robotics world. And this is one of our, as I said before, this is one of our main focus on the whole robotics and where we are contributing to this. On this other side, we have already and this is actually not only valid for robotics. It's for the whole IoT world important that you have this certain amount of safety and security on your devices. And I would say when people are coming out of the POC state, they realize that there's more. There's not just the POC and the technical geek part of this to get all the AI components, get the navigation right, get the SLAM algorithm working. The real work really starts when you bring this to market. And this is where we are really focusing, and especially with you guys and the Roboverse platform, this is all about, right? I mean, you can think about this service to be used on different types of devices, on different types of robots, of course, even machines. You can even use it on drones. You see another drone up there. So it has a lot of possibilities with these type of services. It goes also beyond this, so the whole integration into Office, AI integration, Dynamics integration, and even other things like SAP integration. So you have all the gateways and all the cloud power then behind these robots.
This is exactly the power of Roboverse platform, where you indeed can integrate the robot itself, which cannot not necessarily have to be a robot. It can also be an existing IoT device or your camera monitoring system, where you simply plug and play to our black box, right? And you keep your existing system running, and additionally, you add those AI features, for example, right? Because adding AI skills into the robots, for example, is as easy as turning on a skill for your smart home speaker. Yes. However, I don't want to, spoil too many features and too many news about our platform itself for robotics, because this may come again on the stage one of Microsoft conferences. Just for a reference, this year, 2021, we've been already at Microsoft Build, we've been at Microsoft Ignite, we've been at Microsoft Inspire. where we show the use cases, when we give couple updates, what we are doing with the customers, what we are doing also with Microsoft Germany. Great use case about inspection on the cars. We've been at Microsoft Inspire where we're talking about our integration with one of our customers, with Phoenix Contact and their smart building system. However, again, let's not spoil too much. It will definitely come more and more in 2022. However, 2021 for me is still not over yet. At the time when we are recording this podcast is December, end of December 2021. Gunter, can you tell the audience from your perspective what robotic innovations which will announce in 2021 were interesting for you, or maybe not only robotics features, not only robotics announcement, but maybe AI skills, AI components which are related for robotics, are important for robotics?
Yeah, so it's actually an interesting question because when you were...
That was the first part of the interview with Gunter Logemann from Microsoft. If you're interested in the second part, where we discuss more about the business cases and possible return on investments for robotic projects, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It will help to get you notified about the next episode. You are listening to Limcourse podcast, pushing the limits of innovation and productivity in business and daily life.